Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Women Behind Anime and Manga podcast. I am so excited to get started with you all today. My name is Valerie Sloan, and I will be the host for this podcast. I will be providing you all with information based on some prior research to help educate you all on some of the many hardworking and inspirational women currently working in the anime and manga industries. And while broadcasting factual and informational stories, I'm also going to be adding some personal comments in to help kind of liven up the show, kind of just give my take on all that we'll be learning. And so for this very first podcast episode, I'm just going to do a quick introduction to the Women Behind Anime and Manga podcast, and I'll also give a little introduction about myself so you guys kind of know who I am as a person and why I'm so excited to share this podcast with you all. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is this podcast going to be about? Well, you can probably assume what it's going to be based on the name of the podcast itself, the Women Behind Anime and Manga. I wanted to create a space that highlights talented and influential women who are currently working in the pop culture industries of Japan. So we'll be discussing topics such as anime, which is just Japanese animation, and we'll discuss what role women have played in the making of these animes. Since a lot of anime works are based on manga, which are just comics originating from Japan, we will also feature different roles that women have played in the creation of manga. For each episode, I'm going to strive to feature different creators and industry positions in each episode. So these positions will range from mangaka, or manga writers and artists, animators, directors, music composers, voice actors, and more, whatever we can find and whatever we want to highlight. I do want to throw a disclaimer out right now. This podcast isn't going to be specifically about women in Japan. Over the years, anime has grown to an international level with fans all over the world. I think the spread of anime kind of started back in the 90s, but within the last 5 years, anime has sort of become mainstream. So now more than ever, this has really spread to the entire world. And with the spread of love for manga and anime, many jobs were created in the industry worldwide. Animes have been translated and dubbed over in other languages, from English to Spanish to Russian, French, German, and so on. So there were translators who had to write the scripts, and there were directors who would oversee the projects, and they would cast voice directors to provide a new audio to dub over the original Japanese audio. And of course, there were also translators to help translate manga that which was printed in multiple languages. And so because of this, I will also be covering American women who are working in the anime industry as English-dubbed anime actors and directors. I don't think I can cover this on a global scale, so I am going to narrow it down to different Japanese and American women who are working in this industry. The main goal of my podcast is it wants to bring female empowerment. I want to show off and discuss these amazing women. I want to give them more credit for their work, especially since they are working in a predominantly male industry, with men making the most successful works and with men being the largest target audience. Or that's what we thought. That's all a myth. That's all what we thought. It turns out there was a recent survey conducted in November 2021. Around 70% of authors in the manga industry are female. And many of these manga have been so successful that they got successful anime adaptations. And even after being a fan of anime for around 8 years, this came as a shock to me, since it really felt like men were running the business. I feel like that's true in any kind of entertainment industry. It just seems so male-run. But it turns out there's so many amazing women who are working in this industry, but they're not getting enough credit. And because this information, it gave me inspiration to create this podcast. With so many women creators and such little recognition, I really want to change that. In addition, I wish to encourage girls to chase their dreams. So hopefully after hearing about some successful writers, animators, and directors, I really hope to inspire anyone listening with a dream to pursue a career in the anime industry or entertainment industry in general to chase their dreams. If these women can have a successful career despite the hardships and odds against them, then you can too. That's really the message that I want to throw across. And so with both the ideas of recognition and inspiration in mind, the Women Behind Anime and Manga podcast was born. So now that you got a feel for what this podcast will be about, I figured it would be nice to introduce myself again. Again, my name is Valerie, and I'm going to be hosting this podcast. I am a huge anime and manga nerd, which is why I'm going to be talking about the subject. I started watching anime back in 2014 when I watched the film Spirited Away in a film production class, and ever since I saw that movie, I was really intrigued by anime and I wanted to check out some other series, and so I started looking at some anime series and films on my own. I ended up becoming the president of the anime club in high school, so I had the opportunity to host club meetings and choose which films to show to our club members. And to this day, I'm still a huge anime fan. I've watched around 75 anime series, 33 anime films, and I've read and collected around 133 volumes of manga. It might not seem like a lot. There definitely are fans who have read and watched more. I was kind of just off and on until recently, within the last 2 years, I really kind of dived into it. So that's where I am. Some of my favorite manga and anime series are Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, written and illustrated by Fujita. Another favorite is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, created by Ida Iro, which is a team consisting of Iro as the writer and Ida as the illustrator. And finally, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is the anime based off the manga series Full Metal Alchemist, written and illustrated by Hiromu Arakawa. I'm so sorry if I butchered any names that might come up in other episodes. I'm not 100% on pronunciation, but I will be trying my best. Anyways, Wotakoi, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, and Full Metal Alchemist were all very successful manga comics that eventually received anime adaptation. And coincidentally, all 3 of these series were written by female mangaka. Isn't that crazy? Just, of all the things that I've watched, all of my favorites have been written by women, and I feel like sometimes people don't know that. Wotakoi is a romance series, and so it is kind of expected that a female writer will write a story for women, but Toilet Bound Hanako-kun and Full Metal Alchemist are actually written in the male demographic of manga and anime with the intent of, having a male audience. And that's why I think it's really crazy that, here's some women creators who are making these things for men, and I think they deserve more credit for that. And as much as I want to go more in depth about these creators and their works of art, I have to hold myself back since I plan to give creators like Hiromu Arakawa, the creator of Full Metal Alchemist, I want to give her her own episode. So if you'd like to hear more about her, you'll just have to stay tuned. Wink, wink. That just about wraps up all I wanted to cover in the first episode. Again, this is just a little introduction. We'll start to hit the ground running in episode 2. Thank you to anyone out there who decided to listen and tune in to my first podcast. I hope you got a decent feel for who I am as a person, for what this podcast is about, and why I'm so passionate about this topic. I hope to inspire other creative women to pursue their dreams in establishing a career in the entertainment industry, especially the anime industry. If you are a fan, pursue a passion, pursue your hobbies, make a career out of it. And that's something that I'm even looking into. I'm deciding where I want to apply for jobs, and if I somehow was able to find a job in this industry, by all means, I would want to pursue it. So I hope to inspire myself as well as we go through these creators together. In the next podcast episode, I'll give you a little preview. I'll be kicking us off with some history of women within the industry. We'll learn where it all began and where it's currently at present day. I'll also be mentioning and giving credit to some of the women who opened the door of opportunity for the future women who are currently working in the anime and manga industries. And I just can't wait to dive into this podcast, and I hope that you all will come along and join me. And with that being said, I will see you all next time. Thank you!